Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in the video today, and today I'm going to be going over my NFL Week 5 power rankings Thursday, NFL Week 5 begins when we have Thursday Night Football between the Chicago Bears and the Washington Commanders after Washington recently, Washington just nearly beats Philadelphia 34-31. So they nearly won against Philly. So they lost their second straight game. They're 2-2, and Chicago blew a 28-7 lead against the Denver Broncos, and they're 0-4. So that's the opener for Thursday Night Football. It wouldn't surprise me if this is a bad game like we saw between the two teams last year. Maybe a little bit better, but last year when these two teams played in Thursday Night Football, I believe it was week 5 or week 6, so it's around the same time of year. The Bears and the Commanders played. Now, difference is, I think this Bears team is a little bit improved than they were at this timeline last year when these two teams faced off last season. But also, the Commanders have Sam Howell as their starting quarterback, and this game's in Washington compared to last year's game being in Chicago. I believe last year's game was in Chicago, and the final score was 12-7. I have this one being a little bit more of a high-scoring score. But to start week 5, we gotta do the power rankings. Do it every Tuesday after Monday Night Football, after the game from Monday night, and let's get into it. I go from 32-1, and all right, let's get started. So at 32, I'm going with one of the teams that is not won a football game yet. It's not the Chicago Bears, because I liked what I saw from the Bears this weekend. I'm going with the Carolina Panthers. I know the Chicago Bears have been bad, but their offense wasn't terrible this Sunday. I know they lost. I know they they ended up blowing a 21-point lead, but Carolina's offense has been terrible, and Bryce Young hasn't been that good at either. And I got them at 32. Last week in Week 4's power rankings, I had them at 30. 31, I have Chicago. They're 0-4 as well. They're the second team in the NFL that's 0-4. The Bears and the Panthers are the only two teams in the NFL are 0-4. Here's the crazy thing. Right now, if the season ended, the Bears would get the number 1 and number 2 overall draft picks because they traded the number 1 overall pick last year to the Panthers. They had the Panthers' first-round pick. They have their first-round pick. They would have number 1 and number 2 draft picks if the NFL ended today, if the season ended today. Last week I had the Bears at 32. At 30, I have the Broncos. They just beat the Bears 31-28. I previously had them at 31. At 29, I have the Giants. Previously had them at 28. They got crushed on Monday Night Football by the Seattle Seahawks, 24-3. They have been atrocious so far. At 28, I have the New England Patriots. Previously had them at 21. They got their butts kicked by the Dallas Cowboys, 38-3. And the Cowboys defense scored 2 touchdowns on them. I got a little, why I had the Patriots at 21 last week. And I kind of took the bait after that first win against the New York Jets, and I wouldn't say it's, the season's not over. It's, still 4 games in. Wouldn't surprise me if the Patriots won this next week against the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr is still a little bit banged up, and that game is at home for New England, but they definitely don't deserve to be at 21, and they had a good win last week, and that's why I had them there, but now I think they deserve to be at 28. And at 27, after getting their first win against the team I had first at 32, the Minnesota Vikings, who just beat the Panthers 21-13. They stay at the same spot. I had them at 27 last week. Their offense is still not pretty. Still turnover city. Kirk threw 2 interceptions. I think he fumbled as well. So this offense is still not pretty, and they need to clean up their turnover problem. At 26, at the same spot as well, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. They nearly beat if an interception from Aiden O'Connell didn't happen to Asante Samuel, the Raiders could have won this game in overtime. Justin Herbert got banged up. They almost won. They almost won without their starting quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. So I thought the Raiders had a solid game. I thought they showed some good things against the Los Angeles Chargers on the road, but I'm going to keep them at the same spot at 26 after losing 24-17. At 25, I have the Arizona Cardinals. I previously had them at 23, so they fall down 2 spots. They got their butts kicked by the 49ers 35-16. I think for anything, I think it looks bad for the Cowboys, and especially with their matchup coming up. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys matchup against the Cardinals, and they lose 28-16, while the 49ers match up against these Arizona Cardinals, and they beat them 35-16. I'm not saying Arizona are frauds and just got a lucky win against Dallas, but I think their win against Dallas made them look a little bit better than they are. At 24, falling down 14 spots, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. After the Steelers win last week, who did they beat last week? I can't remember who they beat last week. They beat the Browns, and then they beat the Raiders Sunday Night Football. I kind of stayed on the high train because their defense looked amazing last week against the Raiders, but they were terrible against the Texans. Only 6 points of offense. Kenny Pickett got hurt. Their defense looked terrible against this Texans offense. I think the Steelers deserve to be at 24. Had them at 10 last week. I am very embarrassed I had them at 10. And then at 23, I had the Falcons, another offense that was horrendous. They only scored 7 points of offense Sunday morning against the Jaguars. I previously had them at 14. Another team taking a little bit of a drop. The Saints at 22, previously at 18, after losing to another terrible offensive week for this team, and they lost 26-9. Have them dropping 4 spots. 21, I had the Packers, them dropping 6 spots. Had them at 15. And then I wouldn't think I'd have a team jumping up 5 spots for losing, but when you almost beat the Super Bowl champions, that happens. At 20, I had the New York Jets, previously at 25. Zach Wilson played his lights out, probably the best game he's ever played, and he outperformed Patrick Mahomes. This Jets team nearly beat the Kansas City Chiefs. The Jets deserve to be at 20. At 19, falling down 12 spots, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. I kind of, after last week's Monday Night Football win against the Los Angeles Rams, I kind of assumed that the Cincinnati Bengals were back, and so was Joe Burrow, but they didn't show that against the Tennessee Titans. I think they deserve to take a huge drop, even though they were one of the best teams in the AFC last year. Starting off 0-2, I made exceptions for them, but 1-3 and getting crushed by the Titans, losing to them by 24 points. There's no excuses for that. At 18, I had the Houston Texans, previously at 24, so they jump up 6 spots. They beat the Steelers 30-6. They've won their last 2 games against the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Pittsburgh Steelers, against the Jaguars by 20 and by the Steelers by 24. C.J. Stroud has looked amazing, throwing 151 passes and 0 interceptions, and this Texans team has won 2 in a row, and they're 2-2. At 17, I have the division rival, the Tennessee Titans. I kind of hated on the Titans last week. I put them at 29 last week. But let's be honest, they were horrible last week against Cleveland. They lost 27-3 last week against the Cleveland Browns. So they definitely deserve to be there at 29. They were 1-2, and they just scored 3 points against the Cleveland Browns. But they had a very good week against. They had a very good week against the Cincinnati Bengals. I thought they deserved to jump up. And then just like the New York Jets, I have a team jumping up 4 spots, not 5, because they almost beat a Super Bowl team as well. And that's at 16, the Washington Commanders, previously at 20, who nearly beat the Philadelphia Eagles. I know they've lost 2 straight, but they nearly knocked off the Eagles and almost gave the Eagles their first loss of the season. At 15, jumping up 7 spots and beating the Colts in overtime, I have the Rams at 15. At 14, I have the Browns. They previously at 11. And the Browns, I will give the Browns the exception. They were without their starting quarterback, but I think there are teams that deserve to be over them. At 13, I had the Chargers. Previously at 16, they won their 2nd straight game. This one against the Raiders. I thought that was a great win for the Los Angeles Chargers, and now they go into the bye week. At 12, I have the Colts. They're staying at the same spot. They had a great comeback against the Los Angeles Rams. They didn't get the ball at all in overtime. If they would have got the ball first, the Colts would have scored a touchdown and won that game against the Rams. They had a great comeback. They were down 23-0, and I think the Colts are a very underrated team in this league. At 11, jumping up 8 spots, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Last week I had them at 19 because I thought they were frauds in the first 2 weeks because they beat up on 2 bad teams in the Bears and the Vikings. But here's the thing, and then they go up against the Philadelphia Eagles and lose by 14 and look terrible against them. I thought they might have been frauds, but they proved me wrong. They had a great week against the New Orleans Saints, winning 26-9. At 10, I had the Jacksonville Jaguars after bouncing back after 2 straight losses to the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans. I have them at 10, previously at 17, and I think the Jags, after getting a huge win, 23-7 this week on in their London game, and now they prepare for a big game against the Buffalo Bills. And then at 9, I have the Seattle Seahawks, previously at 8. I don't have, the only reason I have them, dropping one spot here is because I think there's some teams that deserve to jump them. And then at 8, I have the Ravens, previously at 13. I was kind of hard on them last week after losing to the Indianapolis Colts in overtime, but I think the Colts are a lot better than they look, or a lot better than people think. At 7, I have the Lions, previously at 9. Great win for them this week, as they beat, I can't remember who they beat, to be honest. At 6, I have the Dolphins, previously at 1. I mean, can you blame me for putting the Dolphins at 1 last week? You score 70 points, you deserve to be at 1. You win by 50 points, you deserve to be at 1. At 5, I have the Dallas Cowboys, previously at 6. In the next 5 teams, the Dallas Cowboys and the teams after that, I believe the 5 best teams in the NFL. 4, Chiefs, previously at 3. 3, Eagles, previously at 4. Bills, 2, previously at 5. And 49ers, 1, previously at 2. Use them on your thoughts on my power rankings. That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.